Is this worth a year-long wait? Welcome back, everyone. This is Bevan with Tried and True EDC. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Custom Knife Factory Snafu 4. And this is the large version. And hopefully, by the end of this video, we're going to answer the question, is it worth it? Especially the year that I waited for this to come in. Before we jump in, let's talk about the packaging and what you can expect when you buy this. So you're going to get an authenticity card. This is a Snafu 2024. And then we got the microfiber cloth, and it has the CKF stamp on it right here. And then some extra hardware. All right, let's jump right in. Let's talk about the blade. So the blade, for me, I really like. It's got a unique blade shape to it. It's kind of a cross between a drop point as well as a Japanese tanto. And I'll kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about. So these are both my Zons. I got the drop point and the tanto. You see how on the tanto, there's a very distinct transition between the flat versus the rounded part of the edge. And then drop point has a very smooth transition. On the Snafu, you can clearly see the transition right there. So this is the straight edge, and then it curves up towards the nose. But I like it. It's got character. The finish on the blade has a two-tone. So you got satin flats right here. And then on the primary bevel, how I would describe it, it's kind of like a semi-polished bead blast. Because I wouldn't call it stonewashed, only for the fact that on most stonewash finishes, you can see the characters of the stonewash from the processing. You don't really see that here, and it has more of a very refined look to it, more on par with what I've seen on bead blasted finishes. It's got your thumb stud that also acts like a blade stop. You can tell because there's two little snail trails right there. And it also contacts the lock bar right there and right there. And it has a nice full on it, so you can middle finger flick it, reverse flick, spidey flick, whatever you want to call it. And then it's got a nicely chamfered flipper tab. I personally like it using the flipper tab, but it's nice to have options. Completely sterile blade, minus on the flipper tab, you'll see M398 for the steel, and this is serialized number 219. Beautiful blade. And what's interesting, as I called out about the combination of a drop point and tanto, Japanese tanto, is that most tantos on the nose area, it becomes a more robust tip. Robust nose. So it's at a wider angle versus the primary bevel. And it's kind of like a subtle hollow grind to it. So it doesn't feel that thin as you're coming down, but you can tell that it does hollow towards the secondary bevel. But what I was going to say is this entire portion, it feels very symmetrical. Yeah. So I would assume and expect this angle on the nose area to be the same sharpening angle as this straight edge area. Let's see if it's sharp. All right. A little bit took a little bit of work right there. Okay, so there's some zip tie cutting. Check out the rope. This is 3/8 of an inch thick. All right, seems like no problem. There's magazine paper, and that's okay. It kind of stops at the transition, though. The cuts don't feel very clean, however. Yeah, I would say maybe it could be a little more keen, a little more sharp on the edge. Let's jump into the handle. So this is designed by Peter Rosenti, who is a Canadian custom knife maker who specializes in integrals. So this is one piece of titanium and everything else is worked around it. It doesn't come apart in any way. You can take out the pivot to be able to move the blade and the bearings and whatnot. The handle is one piece of titanium, and he's got these marbled carbon fiber inlays. It protrudes a little bit, so you could call them overlays, but it's pretty well done. There is a few areas of voids on this. You can feel it with your hand and your finger. So overall, it's pretty well done, smooth enough for, you're not like you're going to cut yourself anywhere. Love the look of integrals because there's no hardware sticking out, right? There's no hardware screws anywhere on this thing. I mean, this is really not on, it's on the body, but it's not really part of the handle so much as it is the pocket clip. And you just got the pivot pin and pivot screw. It does come with a, I believe it's a Zircuti pivot collar. Adds a nice touch of, a nice pop of color to the entire knife. And CKF stamped right there, and then Peter Rosenti's initials, insignia is right there. It is a frame lock. It's about a 30% lockup right there. Very well centered. It's got some jimping on the back, so that way, reverse grip, it does feel comfortable. Now, I overlooked this portion, the jimping on the blade. I will say it's slightly more aggressive than what I'm used to. I'd imagine if you start really applying a lot of pressure, you are gonna feel the jimping in your thumb, very much so. So let me see. See that? Ooh. Let's do some size comparison real quick. So I've got the military 2 on top, military PM2 on the bottom. It's much more similar to the PM2. It's noticeably smaller than the military 2. And then I got a couple more. This one is the Microtech SOCOM Elite. That's much more on par in terms of overall size. And then I wanted to showcase this one because it's also a Peter Rosenti integral. This is the Spyderco Python. So it is smaller in size, as you can see. This one has a mirrored stonewash on it. And in some ways, it kind of resembles this, but again, it's not quite the same. So I would say the closest in size would be to the Microtech SOCOM Elite. All right, let's jump to the pocket clip. Titanium mill pocket clip. Retention feels slightly above average, I would say. So let's take a shot of that in the pocket and see how stiff that pocket clip is. It's not that bad. Not bad at all. I would say that's pretty good. You will notice there's quite a bit of knife sticking out though. So something to keep in mind. But it's slim enough to where it doesn't take up too much real estate in the pocket. So that's a plus. And again, with the chamfered flipper tab, if you're throwing your hands in your pocket, you shouldn't feel that. All right, let's talk about the action. I've been flipping this thing already throughout this video, and it's got great action, in my opinion. Flies out easily. It is on bearings. And if you get it over the detent, it will drop shut on its own weight. So very nicely done. Flies out using all different deployment methods. I would say possibly the least with the reverse flick. But it's not as snappy, is what I'm trying to say. The flipper tab definitely gives it that authoritative snap when it flies out. And so if you disengage, even if it drops all the way down, well, you have to be careful. Yeah, I would say don't try to disengage too low because you could cut yourself on a thumb there. And it also has a detent ramp. So as it hits the detent ball right about there, it overcomes it easily. I really like that component on knives, especially if the detent ball sits a little lower. If you don't have that detent ramp, it takes a little oomph to overcome it, and that's when potentially, if you're trying to close it, it just snaps shut. Maybe not that hard, but you get the idea. Let's talk about the ergonomics. Very comfortable in hand. I really like it. They've done nice chamfering throughout the entire handle, so while it looks a bit blocky in a sense, it's contoured and chamfered in such a nice way that you don't feel any hot spots whatsoever, except when you get to the jimping. Again, this is slightly more aggressive than what I'm used to, and so, but you can choke up on a finger twirl right there, and that's comfortable as well. And then with the reverse grip, no hot spots. Yeah, and I'm really gripping on this, so really trying to get a feel for it if I needed to get my hands fully impressed on this blade, on this handle. Really well done. It's got great ergos. It's a longer handle. It's a big blade, right? Overall, this is 8.5 inches, closely to that. 4-inch blade, yeah. So let's talk about cost and availability. This cost a total of $590. And when I first started this video, I talked about, is it worth a year-long wait? Well, I pre-ordered this from NC Blade, put $100 deposit, and it was before May of 2024. I didn't get this till the first week of May in 2025. And so it took definitely quite a while to get this in hand. And we'll get circled back towards the end of this video to talk about, is it worth it? I mean, I'm glad that's finally here. So no, certainly happy about that. Availability wise, I don't see available at the moment. Perhaps once all pre-orders finally get filled, they'll have some extras. So keep an eye out, NC Blade. I'll post some resource links, whatever is applicable, and you can check that out for yourself. Now, to answer the question, is it worth it? I like it. I do. But given how it wasn't very sharp cutting through the paper, at least the cuts didn't seem very clean, I would say there are some bits of refinement. So the edge could be more keen. The jimping on here could be knocked down a bit so it's not so aggressive. I mean, I don't really like jimping that's super subtle, which doesn't even provide a function. However, I think they went overboard on this. It's a little aggressive. I can't say enough about that, but so something I think could be refined is that the edge. This is one more bit I want to call out. This portion right here. If you're not putting any pressure towards this portion of the handle, you're fine. But as soon as you press in a little bit, you're going to feel the tip of that blade. And one thing that was called out by another YouTuber was the Undanzon having an issue like that. But this is not nearly as accessible as the Snafu. So keep that in mind. I personally haven't ran into issues where I poked myself trying to extract my knife, but that's there. And if you're not careful, yeah, you're going to poke yourself right there. And I mean, I like the knife. It's got great ergonomics, great action. It's designed and collaborated. The OEM is respectable, Custom Knife Factory. They've been around for a long time. Peter Rizzenti is an excellent knife maker. His very popular models, such as the Python as well as the Nirvana, both of which Spataco has collaborated on. I just think there could be refinements, things that could make this even better. So let me know if you got one of these as well. And if you thought the year-long wait was worth it, or perhaps you bought it from the secondary market. I'm already seeing these on the secondary market for more than the $590 price. I'm actually seeing it I saw one for $750 recently. Personally, I don't think it's worth $750, but it's a great knife, and I'm probably going to sharpen this up. I don't really enjoy having knives in my collection that aren't sharp, so that's something I want to do. But yeah, again, let me know your thoughts, questions, comments. Please feel free to post them. As always, I truly appreciate you tuning in. Stay frosty.